We're live, counting down from 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Following last year's MLB playoff berth, especially in the 2020 season where there were 16 teams in the playoffs, the San Diego Padres were looking to mount that momentum and take it into the next season, and they were off to a torrid start. And then something happened on the way to the playoffs, especially in September, but there's still plenty of time left. So who knows how quickly they can turn it around. I am Earl Holland, and here to talk about the Padres and their chances for the playoffs, which are still around, is longtime Padres fan Tierra Murguia. Tierra Murguia. I almost had it that time. Tierra Murguia. Thank you for being on the show. I really do appreciate it. It's funny for people who are watching and who've seen some of the previous podcasts. I was able to get Tierra as a result of Cardinals fan Willie Marks, and he was able to connect me with her. And I'm glad to have you. Glad to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Tierra.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me. And yeah, let it be Willie and Willie's team that potentially do us dirty and knock us out of playoff contention. So yeah, kind of ironic, but
I wanted to ask you, starting off this interview, how did you become a Padres fan? What drew you to the Padres?
So I'm a tomboy at heart. So I've played sports my entire life. Currently, my husband and I play on an adult softball league. So baseball is softball. Baseball is a big part of our lives. I've been a Padres fan since high school. I'm in my mid-30s now, so going on almost 2 decades. And from the Trevor Hoffman days and the Ken Caminetti days to now the Fernando Tatis and the Joe Musgroves. So kind of seen it all, been through this pendulum of emotions year over year. And I would say, like most San Diego teams, we are a heartbreak team. We're now a football-less city, but we still have the Padres, and they gave us so much hope last season and so much hope this season. And now we'll kind of have to see how it goes. But yeah, it's hard being a San Diego sports fan. Let me just say that.
Now I can imagine. I mean, but at least you guys do have the nice weather there. I think a lot of people would kill for that.
We pay for it in a lot of ways. Yes.
What is your most memorable moment as a Padres fan? Was it the World Series run, the most recent World Series run? Was it even the Joe Musgrove no-hitter that occurred earlier this season?
Yeah, so I have 2 on my list. The Joe Musgrove no-hitter was certainly very memorable. It's the first one in franchise history. But, like I said, I was a Trevor Hoffman fan. So his retirement in 2011, despite the fact that, he left the Padres and went and played with another team and then came back to retire as a Padre, was also very memorable. So I'm wearing an old school Padre Hoffman jersey. And so, yeah, it's just the highs and lows of it all. But, the Musgrove no-hitter was pretty memorable. The community as a whole really rallied around that because his family's local. So it was just great to see. And he's had actually a pretty good season. I mean, everyone has their highs and lows, but from our pitching disaster that we have currently going on, at least he's had, I think most would consider a pretty good season.
Going into the year, I know the huge momentum coming back from the playoffs in 2020, as I've been quoting to it many times as the bizarro season because of COVID and the 16-team playoff. What were you expecting the Padres to do, especially in a division that, of course, you have the reigning not only NL champions but World Series champions and a surprising Giants team as well?
Right, yeah, to have the Giants kind of bounce back the way they have this season with where they were last season has been shocking. Shot the Padres again, heartbreak central. We thought coming into the season, up until really the break, things were looking good, and after the break, we're a little bit rocky. We had a bunch of trades going on with pitching. We picked up a really good RBI hitter in Frazier, but the last month the wheels have come off. Snell's gotten better in pitching, but then, we got injuries with Lamet. I mean, we have injuries with just the bullpen. The firing of the pitching coach was also a little bit of a disaster. And then, with the management team, whether it's AJ Preller or Jace Tingler, just constantly kind of changing the lineup and the layout, moving people around and trying to figure out what's going to work is just not working. So, I think we still, I don't know what the sports lines are at, 1%, 4% chance of still making the playoffs. But yeah, we're 3.5 games behind. We got 12 games left, and we got the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Braves. So it's not an easy stretch coming up.
What was, I guess in that case, when did you feel optimistic the Padres were going to the playoffs? I know things were rolling well, especially even with Tatis getting hurt and then making the move from shortstop to the outfield, temporarily pulling as I call it, the Robin Yount, going from shortstop to a little bit of the outfield. What were some of the, I guess, things that made you think, okay, we're going to the playoffs. We're gonna give everybody in the NL, and not only the NL West, a run for their money?
5 all-star picks. I mean, it's the bats were heating up. Cronenworth, Darvish was doing pretty good after the injury. Yeah, Tatis jumping back from the injury. So, people's injuries started looking a lot better. But then you go back and look at the number of hours that our pitching has missed. It's one of the highest in the league. And so, again, that just ended up being a deflating. But yeah, the bats warming up was a huge thing. It was really about a month ago when things started to change a little bit. So it's good to see our rookie shine. Tatis is our franchise tag. He is our guy for the next 13, 14 years. Him being a little fragile with injuries is a little concerning, but he was able to stick out the season. Hopefully he gets potentially, I think, the surgery that he might need at the end of the season, and he can bounce back. But we'll kind of see what happens. But we got Machado did really good this season. Hosmer's been up and down. Myers has been up and down. Really some of our core guys have stepped up. Our rookies and Profar in Hassan Kim is another one. Some of our second string guys have been really good. So it's been really exciting to see sort of the younger guys that were no names a year ago, or not no names in San Diego, but across the league have really stepped up. So I think the future's still bright for us. I think we're going to have, we don't want to say we're not going to make it, but we've got a great foundation to continue building off of. And, there's always next season.
What was the sign that made you a little concerned that, okay, the grip of the playoffs are slipping from us? Because the Padres were holding on to that second wild card spot for a while. Everybody thought it was going to be 3 teams coming out of the West to make it to the playoffs at that point. To you, when did it all fall apart?
Last weekend in St. Louis. Really, we've always been really neck and neck with the Reds. Reds are a good team. Cincinnati's a good team. Didn't really expect St. Louis to come out like they did, because we've had a couple decent home stands. But yeah, this last, 10, 11 game road trip really did us bad. And then it's kind of the nail in the coffin this last weekend being swept by St. Louis. So, and then like I said, we got Giants, Dodgers, and a makeup game with the Braves coming up that – it's going to be hard, man. And we've had the month of September as a whole is hard. We've already had the Dodgers. We've already had the Giants, and we did do well against the Giants. So there is hope. We did pretty good against the Giants last week. So, maybe we can repeat some of that and take the entire series. But it would be what do they call it? The Fenway Miracle at Petco Park. I guess we'll see.
I know. How would you best assess this season if the Padres didn't make the playoffs? I know it's been a lot of ups and downs, especially we talked about Musgrove's no-hitter, the comeback against the Nationals, the crazy comeback. And then I know on the other hand, just seeing them lose the grip, the argument in the dugout that happened over the weekend and stuff like that. How would you best assess this season if the Padres don't make the playoffs?
Well, I think we need our guys to come through at the end. I mean, we need our core set of guys to come through at the end. And, whether, it's Machado and Tatis getting in it. And everyone's passionate about it. You can tell the team is really passionate. They're all super committed to it. I think Jace Tingler has been, I'm actually, for the most part, a pretty big fan of him. A lot of people don't like the way he's been moving people around at the end of the day, but we're trying to find something that works. And, when things aren't working, you got to make changes. So, I think at the end, everyone, if you don't make the playoffs, everyone's disappointed. But, to even be in that contention with where San Diego used to be as a team a few years ago, I think says a lot about kind of going after that farm style of recruitment in players. And so, I wouldn't disappointing. Yeah, but until somebody knocks the Dodgers out at the knees, we're always going to be in a really, really tough conference. So, and a really tough division. So NL West this year is just, it's been pretty spot on. And we can't lose games to Colorado, and we can't lose games to Arizona. Bottom line, we can't lose games like that. And we lost too many games to teams like that. So.
Yeah, and it's interestingly enough, I was thinking, especially looking at Tatis, especially being able to retain him for such a long time, him being basically the face of the franchise for the foreseeable future. I know as a lot of fans would worry about teams losing players and them wearing either pinstripes or wearing Boston colors, or in the other case, I guess in your case, Mets colors or Dodgers colors. And that'd be a huge thing, especially me being an Orioles fan. I was glad that Machado went to San Diego, went one far away out the West, so it doesn't haunt us. And two, he's not wearing pinstripes. So at that point, whatever he does over there is not my problem or not my concern. So I know it has to be glad to see the Padres ownership spend the money and keep Tatis, especially after they've already shelled out a lot for Machado as well.
Well, with Machado being a former Dodger, a lot of us didn't like Machado. I mean, he was kind of a dirtbag player for a while, a dirty player. And I think his attitude's turned around and changed. I think he's he's 29 years old, right? I mean, he's matured as a player. He's been around for a while. I think that's starting to shine through, and for the most part for the season, his bats were doing well. His fielding's been great. Him moving to the shift has really worked for us as a team, strategy wise, moving him from third out into the shift. And so, it's been kind of nice to see his leadership shine through. So we'll see what next season brings.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when he and Bryce Harper, guys like Bryce Harper, were free agents, everybody was worried about all the check, I guess, sort of the red flags that came out. Especially, it's funny, I guess, and being an Orioles fan, I didn't really. Well, we tried to ignore the red flags because they weren't as bad. He wasn't A-Rod level pushing, yelling, "I got it," or trying to knock gloves out of people's hands and things like that. So that to us, it wasn't as bad. And we saw time against Oakland or something like that. It's like, well, hey, you got to stick up for yourself against the big boys. But I think that's the biggest thing. Like you said, the maturity of Manny Machado is huge, and he really and I think right now it's not sunk cost. The money is well worth it so far in the eyes of Padres fans.
Right, for sure. I mean, we spent big money on Hosmer. We spent big money on even Will Myers 5 years ago. And, Will Myers wasn't really doing anything until last season and this season. So Hosmer has been kind of lukewarm at times. So, yeah, I mean, it's nice to see the franchise spending money. Now we need these guys to just kind of step it up and complete the full season and get us there as a team.
When it comes to the playoffs, if the Padres make the playoffs, who's the team in the National League that you feel like you match up the best with?
Well, like I said, I mean, it depends if the Reds are going to lock up that position. I feel like competitively that, the Reds have been kind of an on-par team for us to compete against. And obviously at that, I don't want to say that mid-level in the division, but, they are someone that we'll have to see. But, when it comes down to, who's going to be in the final game, who's it going to be? Are we going to see another Dodger-Astro repeat? I mean, is there going to be some karma that comes around? Or is Vlad going to get it with the Blue Jays? I mean, I think it's very interesting to see, who it might be. I do ultimately think it's going to be an NL West team that is going to come through in the big game, in the final game, and probably end up winning it. But who's on the other side of that? It's going to be interesting. But, right now we'll have to see the next 2 weeks go.
as a Padres fan, what team scares you in the playoffs? If the Padres make the playoffs, who scares you in the playoffs? Is it the Dodgers? Is it the Giants? Is it the Brewers? Is it whoever comes out of the East? Because I know that's a 2-team race right now with the Phillies and the Braves as well.
Yeah, Brewers, we got to shellac them from the Brewers. I think there's just this. Everyone hates the Dodgers, just like everyone hates the Yankees on the East Coast. But here in San Diego, I hate the Dodgers. I'm afraid of the Dodgers because they're so good. Even with a few of the players that they got rid of last year or traded away, they still have a recipe that works. And obviously they picked up Trey Turner. They got Max Scherzer, which we were making a play at Scherzer as well. So, they had the same, we were all thinking sort of the same thing, and they're a threat to be contended with. But yeah, unfortunately, just like last season when we did make it to the wild card game, we got knocked out by the Dodgers. So it's like, they're always those gatekeepers. And, we've swept them a few times this season and certainly handed them their own shellackings. But at the end of the day, they're always the team that kind of rivalry standpoint, talent standpoint. Yeah, they're definitely the big boys to compete against.
Looking at the World Series preview, who do you have coming out of the National League? Who do you have coming out of the American League? Who wins it all? And in how many games?
First, I think we're going to get a full 7 games. I love seeing a full 7 games. It's great that I think the level of competition has gotten us to where it's not so one-sided. National League, it's obvious to be either the Dodgers or the Giants. I'll say I'm going to be a little biased in the NL West. And then, on the American League or on the other side, let's just say, like I said, Blue Jays, Astros, Tampa Bay could be in there. Brewers could be in there. It'd be nice to not have the Dodger Astro repeat. But it'd be nice to see it as well, because went to a Padre game over Labor Day weekend, and let me tell you, the booing with the Astros is still very much there, even at the end of the season. And we weren't even affected by it per se, but it's certainly still there. So, people might want to see part 2, just like everyone likes to see part 2 and, all these MMA fights and stuff. So maybe we'll see it again. But definitely 7 games.
7 games. But in this case, who do you cheer for if it's Dodgers Astros?
Yeah. I don't know. I think we just give them ratings at that point. We just give them the ratings, and then, it's like, do you want your division to win? Do you want your conference to win? Yeah, it's hard to say. No, you just watch it and hope for a good game.
Before we wrap this up, and we'll continue this interview offline, what are ways people can reach out to you? First, do you have any shout outs? And then what are ways people can reach out to you on social media to talk Padres baseball and more?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm actually involved in a project called EncoreFan.com. So it's a new social fantasy website that we're building from the ground up, where you can create your own pools for historical NBA. We have NFL Pool 22. It's just kind of this unique way to put together sort of a seeded contest and compete weekly with your friends. And so I'm a super fan on that website. So you can find me on there. And so it's EncoreFan, ENCOREFAN.com. As well, on Instagram, I have a very unique first and last name, but, Tara M is how you can find me on Instagram as well. And then, if the Padres make a run for it, maybe you see me at a game.
I really appreciate it, Tara. For everybody who's been watching, we're going to continue these live streams as we go throughout the week. We're definitely going to have the Dodgers and Sergio Arambula talking about them tomorrow. And of course, we're going to continue trying to get the Mariners fans and White Sox fans and Oakland A's fans. And again, for everybody who's been watching, I really appreciate it. And my guest, Tara Murguia, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And definitely we'll continue this offline. If you could just hold on, we'll just continue this, and we'll take us out. And then for everybody who's been watching, thank you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow.